Good afternoon. Thank you so much for your time today and for joining us. I know you have extremely busy schedules. So the focus of our webinar today is the power of integrating Northspyre and MRI. Look forward to delving in further on this. So before we get started, I did want to bring to your attention some of the upcoming training sessions that we'll be hosting throughout the remainder of this month and into April. In particular, the session on March 6th that focuses around pre-development and the session that's on March 13th focusing around Northspyre 101 are great for companies that might have newer employees who are kind of getting used to Northspyre, or really anyone who kind of just wants a run through of our latest product updates. And then finally, on the 5th, we have a general focus on product updates. Hope to see you in one of these sessions soon. So before we get started, I will kick it off with some introductions. My name is Kara. I am a real estate transformation consultant based out of New York. Before joining Northspyre, I have a background in MEP engineering as well as development consulting.
And hello, everyone. I'm Eileen, and I'm the product manager here overlooking our integrations team. So I work closely with a lot of developers using a large range of our accounting softwares. I'm based out of New York City, and prior to Northspyre, I worked at Deutsche Bank with other previous work experiences in both finance and technology.
So just a quick agenda that we'll go through today. We'll cover what an integration actually is and what that means when we refer to an integration between Northspyre and MRI, how you can unify your accounting and development teams. Then we'll also give a brief demo on how you can sync your invoices, vendors, and commitments and track payments. If there's any time remaining, we will open it up to questions. So some key learning outcomes that we hope that you walk away with today are an understanding of Northspyre's two-way integration with MRI, the correct workflow to seamlessly integrate the two platforms and unify your accounting and development teams, eliminate duplicate work, and ensure consistency between your invoice amounts and payments with our automatic syncing capabilities. How you can leverage Northspyre for financial accounting, vendor management, and cost management, and how you can sync vendors, budget lines, invoices, and commitments between Northspyre and MRI. So you can feel free to log in and follow along. Eileen will be giving a demo after I give the intro, and you're welcome to kind of follow her click path. So the first thing we'd like to cover is what is an integration? So a software integration is when you take two disparate softwares and allow them to communicate with one another. So when we reference our integration with MRI, we have a bi-directional integration that will allow your accounting teams to quickly pay invoices and see that payment reflected back into Northspyre within real time without any manual or duplicative entry. So our end goal with this integration is to really unify your accounting and development teams. As I mentioned during the intro, I have a background in development consulting, and the time around the funding request for each requisition period was like very tedious, full of manual, duplicative work. Once the funding package was compiled, we would give it to the accounting team, who would then have to manually enter all the invoices needing to be paid into their accounting platforms. After the payments were processed, I would then have to update the vendor and invoice logs with any applicable check info, payment info, wire info, and amounts. By using our bidirectional integration, you are able to kind of push your payments over to MRI, see them reflected back into Northspyre, and avoid your accounting team having to do manual and duplicative entries, which also kind of leaves you open to human error. And you can ensure that you're looking at identical information between accounting and development. So this is just a quick software outlining how over the course of a year, how many hours a typical team might spend around compiling funding packages. In particular, I'd like to call your attention to number 19, which is 51 hours on average spent over the course of a year inputting costs into accounting systems in order to cut checks. By using our bidirectional integration, we can reduce that amount by orders of magnitude, which if you are paying out monthly requisitions, would amount to about 4 hours each month. So
So
Eileen's going to get a brief demo.
thank you, Kara. Just like Kara said, our integration eliminates manual, duplicative work, and human error. So you can really leverage Northspyre for all of your financial accounting, vendor management, and cost management. So let's dive into a demo to show you all how this works in Northspyre. So to start, I'll give you a quick overview of the one-time setup steps that will ensure that budget line, cost code, and vendor information between MRI and Northspire will sync accurately without requiring you to adjust anything about how those values are logged in each platform. After this call, you can also ask your real estate transformation consultant for our reference guide, which has all the detailed instructions. So let's begin with the budget line setup. Like I mentioned, this is a one-time setup step that ensures that your budget lines in Northspire will properly map to your accounting codes. So if you want to follow along, I'm just going to navigate to budget categorizations under my power tools. From here, I just have to click on update cost codes. And then if this project has MRI set up, I can then set my MRI codes. So as you can see here, this is your management page where we map each Northspire budget line to the respective entity ID, GL codes, and other cost codes. Job code here is optional depending on if that's necessary for your team. Northspire has a dedicated setup team that can set this all up for you as long as your team provides us with a file of the correct mappings. And once your budget lines are set up, we ensure that all information is synced between your two platforms and that all of that information is accurate and preventing any discrepancies that you might encounter. If any of your mappings change or new budget lines are added to your project, you have complete freedom to adjust those values from this page, and we make it seamless and easy for you by populating each of these fields with a dropdown of values pulled directly from MRI. Now, the second and final setup step is syncing Northspire vendors to your MRI vendors. Again, the purpose of this mapping is to ensure that we have an accurate mapping between our two platforms without requiring you to adjust anything about the way vendors are named in either platform. So I'll navigate now to my vendor management page here, also under Power Tools, if you want to follow along. Vendors from your paired MRI project are automatically pulled into your Northspire project as unapproved vendors in this list here on the right side tab. We want to ensure that you have complete oversight into whether or not these vendors are added to your Northspire project. So we give you the freedom to approve these vendors either by linking this vendor to an existing Northspire vendor, adding this vendor as a completely new vendor into your project, or doing nothing and leaving them here as unapproved vendors, in which case they are not synced into your project at all. Once these vendors are approved and synced, you will see them in the approved vendor list here on the left with a clear indication of which vendors are linked. And from here, all transactions coming into your data inbox will now have the correct vendor association. So you don't need to double check that information when those transactions come in. And again, our dedicated setup team can assist you in this setup step. So anytime new vendors are added into MRI, we will automatically pull those vendors into the unapproved vendor list. So if anytime that happens, you have complete control into how these vendors are logged. And now that my simple setup is complete, our integration with MRI really empowers you to seamlessly sync vendor, invoice, payment, and commitment information between MRI and Northspire accurately, again, without any manual or duplicative work. And managing your invoices and commitments becomes a complete breeze. So let's navigate now to the invoice data index under Power Tools and check out this workflow. Our recommended workflow is for invoices and commitments to originate in Northspire so that you can use your existing workflows of approving items in the data inbox and verifying all that metadata before items are entered into MRI and payments are finalized. We offer flexibility in the case where this workflow wouldn't work, which I will cover later on, but to start, I'll walk you through the workflow of sending invoices to accounting. So after invoices are approved into your Northspire project, you can manage them all here in your invoice data index. So let's just start with a quick overview of this page. In your data index, Northspire is really committed to making your workflow easy and efficient. So these column options here on the left allow you to toggle on and off any columns. So these selections are saved for the next time that you come onto this page. You can also easily apply one or many filters at once to really narrow down your search. And finally, the search bar here allows you to pinpoint any specific invoices. Our grand total at the bottom of this table is also dynamic. So anytime you apply filters or you search, you can easily see how the cumulative amount of a select group of invoices adds up. The cost code column here will show you how this aligns to your MRI system. And the accounting status here gives you complete visibility into invoice statuses as they relate to MRI. So open invoices have not yet been sent to MRI. Paid invoices have been sent and paid, and pending invoices have been sent. So sending open invoices to MRI takes just the click of a button. I can select whatever invoices I want to send over. So I'm going to send over this invoice number with today's date. And all I have to do is click send to accounting. From here, I just have to verify all of my selections. And once I press send, you should see those invoices immediately in your MRI invoice registry. So I'll give this a second to send and I'll pull up my MRI. So let's take a look at this vendor. This is an Amazon Web Services vendor, and I happen to know what that vendor code is in MRI. So once I search for that invoice, you should see this is the invoice that I just sent. I now have access to all of the information from that invoice with all of the correct vendor ID, amounts, dates, descriptions. If you have multiple components, those would be populated here as well. From here, you should be able to follow your normal MRI payment workflow. An awesome feature that comes with our MRI integration is the robust error handling on Northspire's end. So before we send over your selected invoices, we're going to make sure that there are no issues with your invoices that would prevent them from importing into MRI or mess up any information in MRI. So for example, let me select any of the invoices in my project to send to MRI that have already been sent. So let's say that I want to try to send a paid or pending invoice. I shouldn't be able to send those again. So if I try to send to accounting, you'll see that we'll mark that this invoice is already paid, and we will prevent you from being able to send this invoice out. By doing this, we prevent any human error because, as you can see, any of the invoices I send, if I select all of these, will be flagged in the case where I shouldn't be sending them. We catch any and all issues like missing vendors, missing cost codes, and we provide all the clear messaging so you don't need to monitor any of that on your own. And now for any of the invoices that are sent to MRI, you can use your existing workflows, like I mentioned, to handle your accounts payable and send out payments. Those payments will automatically be synced into Northspire without any manual work. Our invoice data index now acts as your source of truth and a single hub where you can manage all of the information related to your invoice. In my invoice details, I can then track any of my backup documentation, all of the metadata and component breakdown, any of my payment history. So you'll see here, this is an example of an invoice that was paid in MRI. I can see any of my relevant comments or approval workflows and view all of that in a single page. So with all of this information now housed in Northspire, we now have all this information available at your fingertips across the platform, from your anticipated cost report to your vendor overview to your report builder. So because Northspire is dedicated to offering you the flexibility to fit your integration workflow into your existing workflow seamlessly, another way to send invoices over to accounting is actually via the draw request page. So if you want to follow along, I will just navigate to draw request now. From the draw request page, it's really easy to send invoices that align with a given draw period, with Northspire, again, eliminating any and all discrepancies for a given draw that you might typically encounter without our integration. So let's say that you're at the end of a draw period and you're ready to send out all the payments in this draw in one go. From this page, I'll simply click on View All Current Invoices, where I can see now all of the invoices associated to this draw. I can also see any previous draws by applying any of the filters here. Now, all I have to do is click on Accounting, click on Show Integration Options, and select all of the invoices that I would like to send over. Again, we have the same robust error handling that you saw on the invoice data index, so we prevent you from selecting or sending any duplicates, and we catch all of those errors before they hit MRI. Using this workflow, it's really easy to just align your invoice payments with your draw process with minimal additional work and reconcile all invoices across the two platforms instantaneously. Now, syncing commitments with Northspyre is just as easy. So now let's navigate to the commitment and potential cost index to check this out. All the functionality that you just saw in the invoice index is mirrored in the commitment index with your table options, your filtering capabilities, your search, your dynamic grand totals at the bottom, and finally, any and all backup documentation and metadata associated with your commitments. And just like with invoices, all you have to do is select the commitments that you would like to send over, click on Send to Accounting. We inform you of any potential errors proactively. And finally, it just takes the click of a button to send these to accounting. So, like I mentioned, the ideal workflow that we recommend is to have invoices and commitments originate in Northspyre before you send them to accounting. This really ensures that you have that you can approve all the information in Northspyre before payments are sent out and finalized in MRI. However, let's say that you have those occasional invoices or commitments that originate in MRI first. This is not an issue at all, and you don't have to adjust your workflow. So any items originating in your accounting platform will actually be sent to your data inbox just like any other transaction. So I'll go to my data inbox now, where you'll see that those transactions will have the sender from MRI. So if relevant, these items can undergo any automatic approval workflows. You can leverage our Copilot analytics to catch any overruns proactively, and you have complete oversight into what items are accepted into Northspyre before they actually impact your project. Our goal here at Northspyre is to save you time and money. Our integration cuts out hours of manual duplicative work and human error. So we highly encourage you guys to start saving time today. So reach out to your real estate transformation consultant. We'll send over all of these setup instructions and we'll get your integration up and running in no time. We hope this has been useful and look forward to having you guys leverage our powerful accounting tools.